Well, Swami Ajaya, it was great to have you out at our event here at the Global Renaissance. You were actually speaking on consciousness and the new emerging, I guess, paradigm of consciousness. What do you think our next stage of, consciousness is going to be, and when?
I think it'll be less authority focused and more. This movement toward egalitarianism has been going on for a few centuries, but there's still a lot to be done. There's still hierarchical, authoritarian behavior. There's aspects of people that haven't been accepted. So I think it's going to move toward more acceptance of one another. But we're also seeing a reaction to the shift in consciousness, which is the people who are wanting to maintain authority and hierarchical relationships are reacting very strongly to that and trying to keep the old status quo. So in the future, I see more of a consciousness that's not so focused on subject and object as being separate, but seeing how we create our own reality, how we influence what we perceive. Much more focus on the person perceiving than on what's being perceived. And this is happening in physics, it's happening in art. All the leading edge thinkers and leading edge explorers in our culture are already there.
So it's a more, I guess, holistic type of way to, I guess, look at reality, really.
Right, yes, you put it very well.
I know that you have a background in psychology. You actually have a PhD in psychology, and now you are more geared towards, I would say, spiritual psychotherapy. So how exactly did that occur for you?
Well, first of all, I was never very enamored or never felt comfortable with the standard psychology that's been practiced. When I was a training to do diagnostic work, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't fit people into these categories and look at them as having disorders. I don't see people that way. It wasn't natural to me. So I never fit into the psychological mode, the standard psychological mode. And I had studied Eastern spirituality when I was in college. I had some transformative experiences of my own at a fairly young age. And so I was drawn to an alternative view, an Eastern view, which is already, as you said, you're talking about, more holistic.
Yes.
It's more holistic, and it's a view in which there's an understanding that each person is an expression of divinity, of the oneness, and that we're not separate. So if you start from that point of view, you have a whole different way, a different way of looking at the world and at other people, a whole different, as a psychological practitioner, it's a whole different approach. It's more about allowing people to release the blocks to that experience of oneness, rather than trying to become something that they're not. They already are that fullness, that completeness, but they're not aware of it. So working in a way that we're becoming more aware of that is very different than starting with the assumption, well, in order to be a better person, in order to improve, I have to change this, I have to acquire this. This way that I work, and that the more spiritual way is working, is more of shedding the exteriors, the false self, so that the real self that we are, it's already there. Nothing has to be changed.
See the essence or feel the essence then of someone.
Yes, right.
It seems that when you're, I guess, not diagnosing, but rather going through that process, you're helping the individual, I guess, kind of visualize and try to even put into metaphors what that thing that they're experiencing actually is. Is that fair to say?
Yes. Some of the work I do is with metaphor work, and it's through asking questions, not through me giving someone metaphors. That's the difference between hypnosis and this metaphor work that I'm doing, is through, first of all, honoring that the person has the healing capacity within themselves, within their own unconscious. And just by asking questions, they're able to form metaphors that capture what's going on, and to transform those metaphors from metaphors that are constricting and causing dis-ease to metaphors that are enlivening and integrated.
So you have a PhD in psychology, but knowing what you've been doing now, what would you like to see in traditional, I guess, education or education today?
Well, I believe education is going more and more in the direction of creating technologists in whatever field it is. It's more about gaining information, passing tests that show that you know this information, and for the most part, I see less and less teaching people to think creatively, to experience in new ways, and so I'd like there to be more teaching about the value of not knowing. In other words, if I'm in the moment and I don't know, that gives me a lot of leeway to explore and discover. But if I think I know something and I'm busy promoting what I think I know, I'm not very open. So I think I call the people who are most creative, I call revelationaries, a term I coined. Rather than revolutionaries. They're open to revelation, and that requires, after you've learned some things, to let that go and to just be open. And that's where the most creative people are living, on that edge of letting go and listening and discovering. So I wish that there were more teaching, less about facts and more about how to, I don't want to say how to think, because it's not just thinking, but how to be open.
How to come to know, right? How to come to know, how to
good way to
come
put it.
to not only know yourself, but I guess yourself in relation to perhaps what is there. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay.
Okay.
So my last and final question to you that I ask all presenters, what did you think about the Global Renaissance event? And actually, what do you see for Seventh Dimension Health and its future?
Well, I think it's wonderful that people from such disparate, in a way, points of view, and yet they're all interested in the same general idea of opening up to new avenues of consciousness, to new ways of being. And I think, first of all, for the presenters, it's really fascinating to spend time with one another and learn from one another. So I think it's really great that there's such a broad, diverse group of people coming to present, and I'm already wishing I could come to some of the presentations I've heard about.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Swami Ajaya, and again, I look forward to seeing you in 2013.
Okay, I hope so. Thank you.